So we are get started on that table. So I'm gonna change my quick selection tool, and you already see that selected few things for me. If the brush size is too small, you can click on the left right bracket, enlarge it, so it's gonna make it a bigger selection. Isn't that awesome tool? It just saves you a lot of time. Now sometimes if you go over, I mean, we have to select the chair, so just vary your sizes of brushes between small or large. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting. Now be careful here what it's selected, because you don't want to have items that, you know, here I probably wouldn't be using it, because remember, you need to select the chair. So let me go ahead. Oh, see, like right now, did you see what I did? It selected way too much. So I'm going to undo, and I will try to vary my size. If not, I need to use another tool. So why don't you just keep selecting until you have to later deselect few things. So go ahead and see what I'm doing. I'm clicking on it. That's my size. And we are selecting the peppers and I guess olive oil. Now sometimes I zoom in, but see, notice here it's selected way too much. So be careful here if you're selecting. I made my brush size very tiny, and I'm zoom in so I can see the selection. But see, here it's going over. That means I probably have to use another tool for selections, because you need to do a touch up with it, okay? And I'm going to show you, once you select it, what to do. So I'm using just magnetic, no, not magnetic, the quick selection, right? Let me continue with that. Okay, that's selected way too much here. I need to figure out why the shades are similar. Okay, so here I have to go over it. Yeah. All right. So keep on selecting. Sorry, I've been looking on my phone. I have a message. Oh, so now at this point, if you notice, I keep clicking and unclicking and undoing because it's selecting too much. I'm gonna switch to different tool. So I want you to see this. When, especially the ones that are new. Right now, it picked up some edges that I really don't want to be picked up. So I can even use, if you really, I mean, I've worked with lasso tools since '97. So I have some experience with it. But if you have never used it, this may not be the easiest tool to use. So what I have to do here, I have to remove this from my selection. It's selecting way too much. So I'm holding an option key. Now, if you want to use Polygonal Lasso tool, remember this. Polygonal Lasso tool is pain in the behind. Because when you click and you click somewhere else, it's going to keep going. So if you choose this one, and you can, be mindful of it. So I'm going to do option to remove it from the selection, and then I'm just clicking the points. So you just do one click at a time. Don't like over click it. And here it's kind of curved, so I'm going to use another tool. But then here I don't care how it looks like, because I just need to end the points. Kind of get it back. Oh, and don't over click either. And now the selection is getting on my nerves, so undo. But so you notice how now it's smoother now on this side? So I just used it. Just be mindful, like what I did now. Undo, Command Z will be your best friend. Now I'm going to bring in here my magnetic lasso as well. And again, I have to remove that from a selection as well. So all this here, that has to be removed, because this is not, because by accident my quick selection picked it up. So I'm doing option, I'm clicking the option. I have to have it hold it actually on my keyboard, and I'm clicking the points, because this is not really very geometric. Now notice what I'm clicking, because this is a shadow. I don't want any shadow. And I'm clicking out, and then what you just want to do is bring that back and double click. And there it is, okay? So when you want to close that selection, double click on it. All right. So next we can see There's several more we can do. So in this example, especially with straight lines, if you have those, that's when the polygonal lasso tool will come in handy. So I'm gonna zoom in again to the bottom here, and this time I'm adding to the selection, right? I'm not removing. And you notice where the chair kind of goes. It's kind of here too, right? It's here. I see the chair. Now this is not very visible for me, but I will try to select it. But I'm gonna make very straight lines. So because I'm adding to the selection, I'm gonna use the Shift key. It's gonna be the plus. And so I'm holding the Shift key, and I am trying to figure out like the straight point. Probably be easier from this side. And then drag it out. Look, that's all I have to do. It's gonna do a straight line for me. Okay, but one thing to remember, if I'm adding to a selection, it doesn't matter what I do on this side, because I'm adding the area that's empty. This is already added, so I don't really care as long as I bring that over here. And then I added a little bit too much for me, right? So I need to remove that. I don't think CC does that. Like it's yeah. I don't know what it's doing now. I'm just gonna undo that. Let's see. So I'm gonna try to fix that edge, because honestly I don't want any empty stuff over there. So I'm just removing. If that happens to you, so this is what you want to do. You want to remove from the selection. Alright, that's fine. And I can fix that edge. So now I'm gonna go, if there's something very small touches I have to do that don't require, notice here, it's a little bit of edge. So I can actually do regular lasso tool, and it's gonna just select it all for me, just a little edge. So just get used to the removing and adding to the selection, okay? So I add a little bit more. There's actually a leg here. That's why you need to zoom in and kind of see it. I don't see it very well. Can you see that okay? I'm barely see that leg, but it's there, right? So I may not even need that much selection, but I need this part. So at this point, you can decide if it's gonna pick up your color correctly. You can try using the quick selection tool. So it's W, L for lasso, and see if you click on it, it's gonna be selecting it. So notice that I'm clicking. Okay, it's selecting it, fine. But is that faster, you think, than using the polygonal? It's kind of slow. So it may not be the best tool to use. So polygonal lasso tool is probably a better option for this. So I'm adding to a selection, so I'm doing the plus. So I'm adding to the selection. Bless you. Somebody sneezed in my class. So if you watch this at home, if you sneeze, I'm bless you. Okay, and then I'm moving straight line. So this is much faster than doing the quick selection, right? Now we have some edges here as well. Again, I'm using the polygonal lasso, so I drag those out. Now one thing with polygonal lasso, if you go outside like this, it's gonna select it. I don't know why it keeps getting on my nerves when it does that. So I did hold the plus and I selected it, so it's selected. Now if you go over the page like I did, and I'm sorry this is not lighter on the screen, but you can see that I went over the page. If you just clean it up with normal polygonal lasso tool and hold the minus option, you can clean it up, but you need to be close to the edge, because polygonal lasso tool will go above that. I don't know why. But see, this one doesn't let me clean it up, so I'm just gonna leave it. It doesn't matter at this point. Alright, so now we have another chair left. Again, polygonal lasso comes in handy. We're adding to the selection, so just keep in mind when we're moving and adding, and zoom in, because you're gonna see better if you zoom in. If you don't zoom in, it will be much more challenging to see, right? So zoom in, and then I'm adding this part. So this is you, all those selections, I'm mindful of you learning to select correctly different pieces. But keep in mind, when I'm doing that, I can do big pieces at a time. But when I'm starting out, like you, I would break them into several chunks. Okay? Because it's going to be much more, actually, I need to be here. Much more, it will be much easier than doing a one big piece. Okay, did you see how I selected that? So now I have the chair actually continues here, so I'm going to improvise that I can see this. So you just have to practice with it. It's not the easiest tool, but we will look at it in a minute. All right, so then just what, you know, if you get stuck and you like don't know what is happening on yours, just see if you can see what I'm doing. I know it's not very clear, but you can maybe still see the lines. But honestly, I'm just working with Polygonal Lasso tool. Don't overclick it. Just use plus or minus. So notice what I'm doing. So use just plus, option and shift to adding or removing. Don't overclick the Polygonal Lasso tool because it's not a friend. So now notice if I'm going over this, I can actually, what I did, I just undid it. So I'm starting out. Oh, yoy. This is what happens sometimes. You just have to undo. Hold, because if you don't hold the, option or shift when you adding, it's gonna remove everything else. So you make sure you're mindful of that. So right now I'm adding to a selection. I'm holding the shift, and you can see where we're adding. But I will go straight lines first, probably here because I'm adding all this. And to make it easy, I'm just gonna divide all the shapes, kind of as and then you can retouch them. If there's like a little curve on the bottom, that's easier. That you can do this easily. Okay, so I'm touching it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going all the way. Actually, I don't need to go all the way. I just need to go all the way to the skirt. So that's good. Okay, now if you did something like this, this can be removed very quickly with the lasso tool, the regular lasso. Hold option and just draw around it, holding the option key. So we'll, not option key, the shift key, to add to the selection. Okay, so notice here I made a mess. Don't give up, look at that. I made a little mess here. This, if I hold the shift key and my lasso, regular lasso, I can just draw that in the selection. See, if I go outside, it's gonna draw this to a selection. And if I do minus, it's gonna remove it from a selection. So that's the opposite. And I'm sorry I call it minus and plus. I'm option and shift. So just baby steps. Start very little. Do one at a time. If you stuck, Mike is there too to help out. Let's. So I'm gonna continue on. And again, you can watch this. Raise your hand so Mike can help you if you're stuck, because I want to finish that video recording. So I went back to my polygonal tool. And remember, I forgot to click it. Okay, so I'm adding more, putting the points in. Like I said, just analyze the shape. Break it into different parts. Okay, you can always fix it. Try to do as good job as you can in the beginning, but don't worry because you can always clean it up, okay? This is where you're practicing. And we're using Polygonal Lasso tool because it's easier than all the other ones. For now. Not all the easiest, but you notice how quick selection will not always work, right? Because you have different shades of color. By the way, can you see the chair, what I'm outlining? Because there's different parts to it. So I need to make sure I have them all selected. If I go above it, I can double click and then undo if I mess up. So don't triple click. One thing about Polygonal Lasso tool, do not triple click on it. No, everything. They have to select all the chairs, they have to select the table, and they have to select for that one table. So pretty much everything. If you create extra lines accidentally, okay, then you can always clean those up. I go between the regular lasso tool and Polygonal Lasso tool to clean up my edges. So I go now to Lasso tool and I want to clean up this part because it's not really straight. I just go ahead and click. Depending if I need to remove it or add, I can even click Shift or Option. In this case, I'm going to add a little bit here to see. That's fine. And then here, there's a little bit here too. So just add that to a selection. So like here, notice here I went over. Like this has to be included. So I'm just going to select my shift and then select the area. Okay, let me see. Now I'm going to zoom out to see how it's looking. Good. See how my chair is already selected and my table is almost everything selected. The only thing I have to do, because that chair is already selected, this is all part of the selection. Then I have to do this other chair, make sure it's part of the table, and then double check the vinegar and oil, olive oil. So now I'm gonna zoom in. Oh, actually no, I lied. Look at that. This is another part here. We don't want this, right? We have to deselect that. So deselect, because this is already selected. You hold the Option. And you can go Polygonal Lasso tool and just draw like this is a triangle. And there. Now, the same thing here. So hold the Option key. There we go. See how I deselected that part? So this is kind of, I know you cannot see it. When I zoom in, you can maybe kind of see that here. But on the video you will. So if you not finish, you know, you do other parts in a minute and I can help you with that. So now I'm going to go to my next one and next chair, and I'm going to hold the questions until I finish. So if you have a question, I'm going to finish that up and then happy to answer any questions you might have. Alright, I added that leg. And I have to add the other one. So maybe not the easiest one to start with, but notice here, I want you to see this. Notice here the round part of is rounded, and I'm using my Polygonal Lasso to go around it, but I'm going to redraw it. So I'm moving my mouse, the middle of my mouse, to kind of add to it. Okay, so I have my leg selected. Now be careful and don't select the other chair in the back. And you can go between Magic Wand and also try using Magic Wand, but you need to hold plus or minus. Okay, just make sure you don't select other things like I did here. I need to deselect some things. Uh-oh, wrong key. Now I did the wrong key, so I need to redo this. Happens all the time. Sometimes I press the wrong one. Oh, I thought I pressed the right one this time. Maybe I pressed it again. Let's see that. So I'm holding the Option key. There. And then here I need to clean up a little bit. Oh. Undo. Shift. Option didn't work for that part. Okay, so I'm on this leg, and you can continue and finish all the other parts as well. So I at home, when you watch this, I didn't show you every piece because it would take too long, so I'm just finishing this up. Oh, wrong key. Undo is my best friend, because I always click the wrong one. So I'm finishing the last part. I think this is the last thing. And I'm using regular lasso for that. And let's see, everything else looks selected to me. Yep. And now we're gonna do a next step, porting. So when you finished, we will cut this out into a new layer. Okay? We will copy it to a new layer. The command key for that is Command J. Command J. It's gonna copy it. And you can see that if you hide the eye, you can see I have the chairs. I think I did okay job. What do you think? Was good? Alright. So, but there's a trick too. When you do so, and I want you to see this, especially, you know, bring that over, and you know, it's very unforgiving when you bring that over when you have the image. So when I copied it over, there's some things that you probably cannot see unless you fill the background color with this. And what we're gonna do is we have a completely separate layer, and then underneath layer 1, and this is how you can tell if it's not refined, you can put another layer, or at this point you can test it. I'm gonna drag it out and test it into my document. So notice now you can see that this is not perfect. Like this side here, it's not perfect. It needs some work on the side here. You see that? I don't know if you can see that. Some here it's not, you know, I didn't do this correctly. And sometimes if you don't have much experience cutting things out, it may actually come out really rough. So let me show you what you're gonna do. So this is gonna save you a lot of time. So I'm actually going to delete that layer that I brought in to my background, because I can see that I still didn't refine everything correctly in my table. And at this point, I tell you this is something that you will learn. If I'm seeing here that something is missing, I have two options. I even erase it out because it's a background, or I add to it. At this point, I can just erase it out, and I'm gonna know it's, I'm gonna use my regular eraser tool, and I will erase that part. Just make sure you have the right color selected for the background eraser. Right? Now, this is where it's gonna save you tons of time when it comes to selections. So I want you to all pay attention at this point. Okay, not the two of you. I want you all to pay attention. This is because even if you do a crappy selection, this can kind of hide your flaws. Okay? Under filter, I think it's filter, or select actually, under select. Let me go back. Before we actually move it out, I have to go back I have to go back into my mode. So before you actually do anything and you bring it into a new layer, and it should be still selected. If you don't see it, you can do select. You have refine mask, right? Right now it's not selected because we have moved our selection out. So I'm gonna go pull up my history. So don't go as far as me, because I had to. You have make sure your history is selected still when you do so, kind of like this. So if you do the perfect selection, you can go to next step. If your selection was crappy, I went back where I was selected. Okay. At this point, I can do two things. I can check, okay, this selection here, I need to redo really quickly, or whatever else I need to do. Touch it up. Oh, wrong key. I keep doing the wrong one because I'm blindly clicking on it. I'm used to it, so sometimes I don't click the right one. So now notice that. Now select, refine edge is selected. The refine edge works with selections. So what it does, it's going to show you how the edges look like. Right now, I don't know if you cannot see that on mine. I did okay job with my selection, but yours may be a little bit rugged. What you want to do at this point, this is before you move it, okay? Before you put in a new layer. You're going to do smart radius. And you want to really look close, like have it zoomed in. And move the radius a little bit. Okay, just a little bit, tiny bit. Like not more than 2 pixels. Very small. Alright? Do okay. What that's doing is smoothing out your edges. And do okay. Now, if I paste that into a new layer, I can go ahead and paste it in a new layer so I have it alone. And the reason why I would paste in a new layer is in case I mess up and I want to always get it back, I can. So now, if we are in our layers, oh, my layers, where did they went? Let me see. So if I'm in my layers, now I'm going to click Command J. So it moved it for me and I can hide my background. At this point, I'm like, okay, that's good. I'm going to bring it over. And the reason why, I mean, if you have practice, you can do it right away. Bring that part of the image into my background image. But because you are new to it, I rather have you, be safe than sorry. And then bring that over. And then you can see my selection looks pretty darn good. Because I'm not bragging. It's just when you refine the edges, it's gonna make it a little bit smoother, okay? So if you have something a little jagged at the edges, it's gonna make it nicer, right? And you can always refine a little bit more here. So that is this part with the table. Now we're gonna move on to the next part.